Hi guys, welcome back to Econ Time with SK. So grab your notebooks, your favorite cup of coffee, and let's get started. So in this video, we are going to focus on this. What I want you to focus on now is how to interpret the number. That when we're saying that elasticity of demand is more than one, that is, we're dealing with elastic demand, right? Remember, I already told you this means that percentage change in quantity demanded is greater than your percentage change in price. Another way of saying that is to say that, look, when there's this change in price, it leads to a more than proportionate change in quantity demanded. Now, if you were to look at it in terms of the numbers, what we're saying is that if the price change was by 1%, then quantity demanded would change by more than 1%. Okay. So let's say, your price elasticity of demand is calculated to be minus 2.5. How do you interpret this? So I've already told you the minus sign just shows you there's a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. Essentially, it's a law of demand. So how do you interpret this 2.5? Well, you're saying that if price were to go up by 1%, quantity demanded would go down by 2.5%. So similarly, if you were to say that if price increases by 10%, in that case, quantity demanded falls by 25%. So you can see it's actually very, very responsive, right? I always like to draw the arrows. So I'm saying that the price changes by 10%, right? Let's say this size of the arrow reveals 10%. In that case, huge drop in the quantity demanded. So this is like a 25% change. So definitely we're dealing with very responsive quantity demanded, which means we're dealing with elastic demand. Okay. So now let's move on to inelastic. Remember that we had learned that inelastic means percentage change in quantity demanded is less than percentage change in price. This we call a less than proportionate change in quantity demanded due to a change in price. And essentially what it means is if price were to change by 1%, quantity demanded changes by less than 1%. So again, let's just look at an example. Okay, let's say that the elasticity of demand is minus 0.75. Again, remember this minus sign is just telling me that as price increases, quantity demanded decreases, and as price decreases, quantity demanded increases. It just tells me about the negative relationship. This number is what gives me information about elastic or not. Because this number is less than 1, right? 0.75 is less than 1, then essentially what you're dealing with is inelastic demand, right? So what does inelastic demand mean? It means that if price were to increase by, let's say, 1%, quantity demanded would be falling by 0.75%. Or if I were to say, hey, you know what, if price increases by 10%, quantity demanded falls by 7.5%. Right? So it is always whatever is the change in price. Look, the percentage change in price is 10%. This is less than 10%. Okay? So this means that you are dealing with inelastic demand. You're dealing with customers who are not very responsive to a change in price. Okay. When we're dealing with unit elasticity, remember that I've taught you this is essentially percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to the percentage change in price, which means if there's a proportionate change in quantity demanded to a change in price, which means that if price was to change by 1%, quantity demanded would also change by 1%. So this isn't very exciting. It's just saying when the elasticity of demand is equals to 1, the way to interpret it is that I can say that as price, let's say, increases by 1%, quantity demanded would decrease by 1%. Or if I want to do it like as price increases by 10%, quantity demanded decreases by 10%. Okay, now we come to elasticity of demand is infinity. So it is perfectly elastic. Now we've done this before, that a change in price, if you were to do a small change in price, there's extreme responsiveness in terms of quantity demanded. Remember the example that I gave, that there are a lot of sellers selling that same identical good. So when a bunch of customers, they go to one seller and he's charging more than the market price, people's reaction would be, I'm not going to buy from you. I've got like 1,000 other sellers I can go to, and they're going to give it to me at a lower price. So in that case, if any one seller tries to increase the price, he is met with extreme responsiveness because consumers are fully informed about the prices that are being charged by other sellers. Okay. And then, of course, we've got perfectly inelastic demand, where basically, however much you change the price, there's no change in quantity demanded. Remember that you're going to focus on the number one. If it's more than one, it's elastic. If it's less than one, it's inelastic. If it is exactly zero, it's perfectly inelastic. If it's infinity, then it is perfectly elastic. With that, we end our discussion of price elasticity of demand, and I shall see you in the next video with the application. All right, guys, I shall see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.